Hello, welcome to episode 226 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian,
And I'm James.
and the good Watsy giveth content.
Again,
They did was this a Reddit Q&A or it was a Discord Q&A?
it was Discord of all places.
Yeah, it was. They hopped into the Discord and Aaron Forsyth was hunting and pecking away.
Yeah.
Because he's of that age. Discorded up. And so we're going to go over some of the things that they talked about in this Discord, a conversation about the new stated rotation.
Yeah, some of it's stuff we already knew, some of it's clarification, a lot of it is we don't know yet, but we're gonna talk about it and give our thoughts and maybe come up with some answers. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so
It's an off the cuff kind of show.
Yeah, if you want to get at us on social media or in our Discord, all of those links are in the description. So get in there and click away. We've not been as active as we have been in the past. We've both been lifing it up pretty hard.
Yeah, life has definitely thrown a couple curveballs over the last month or two.
Yes, but we're in there. We see stuff. We chime in from time to time. It's fun to see you guys playing and doing things, being out in the world.
Yep.
So come in there and say hey.
Yeah, make sure you hit us up. If you're looking to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do it. The first was with our TCG player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. Follow that link on over to TCG player, and anything you purchase will earn us a percentage. So we would greatly appreciate that. Doesn't cost you guys anything and helps the show out. The second way you can help us out, if you want to support us, is through Patreon. Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. You can chip in however much you want. A couple bucks, whatever you feel like we're worth. Patrons get access to our pre-show, where it's kind of just an hour of us rambling, catching up, making sure all our equipment works, completely unscripted, unedited, just raw us. But a lot of our patrons really like that, so make sure you check that out. If you're interested, sign up for patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Patrons also get access to our show notes, so you get a sneak peek about what the show is going to be about. And you get put on my mailing list, which I meant to do this weekend and completely ran out of time. So hopefully this coming weekend, I'll find a moment to send the give backs out. I need to do that. I need to make a mental note. Give backs are super cool. Brian had an idea for another one. I'll have to write it down somewhere for the next round once I chew through these ones. But yeah, chip a couple bucks and help us out. Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And then we also got our YouTube channel. I've been slacking a little bit lately on the Tomfoolery Tuesdays, but Brian's been chugging away with draft content. He's got a bunch of them posted there, more coming every week. And you get to see our Thursday show live with us. You get to look at us. Hi. Over on our YouTube channel, CasualTryHardMTG on YouTube. So make sure you check that out as well.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we need to give you a little backstory. If you didn't listen to episode 225, you should stop.
Go listen to that one.
Go listen to that. Gotta get those listens and then come back.
That's right.
But if you're like, I only have an hour, I understand. So in case you've been living under a rock, Watsy announced like Saturday or Sunday of the Pro Tour that they were going to extend Standard from a 2-year rotation cycle to a 3-year rotation cycle.
Yep. So back to what it used to be, right? Did it used to be 3 years?
No, it's always been 2 since I've been back. So for the last 10 years,
they changed it at cons.
So no, at cons, what changed at cons was the block structure.
It also changed the rotation.
I think it changed when things rotated.
Okay.
Like in terms of like when in the year, maybe?
No, it always rotated.
But it's been, I feel like it's always been 2 years.
Okay.
But
I should have done some research and looked into that. I feel like it used to be different. And then they shortened it to 2 years.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find here. Standard. It says every 3 years in here, but that's because it's the updated one.
Yeah.
So since the 3-in-1 model in 2019, once a year. Uh, oh, okay. So it used to be it. So since 2019,
Hmm.
once a year with the release of a new fall set, the 4 oldest expansion slash core sets and standards would rotate out.
Okay.
So that kept everything legal for 2 years, right? Because the 4 oldest would rotate out. Before that, the 2 oldest blocks, still legal and standard, would rotate out of the format.
Okay.
So it used to be on block. So when Ixalan released in the fall of 2017, this is from Magic Wiki, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Battle for Zendikar, Oath of the Gatewatch, Shadows over Innistrad, Eldritch Moon, and Welcome Deck 2016, which is somehow part of Eldritch Moon,
Yeah.
rotated out. So it was still a year's 4 sets left,
Yeah.
but how it was defined changed.
Okay.
And then uh here's what happened. The original standard format allowed recent 2 blocks plus the core set. And then after Magic Wars, the core set went away and only 2 sets. So, and it was standard with 3 blocks, had 2 rotations: spring, autumn, adopted in 2015, 2016 with cons, fate, dragon, magic origins were treated as blocks. Okay, yeah. As So as the system received heavy criticism among players, spring rotation was dropped in 2017. So do you remember when they were going to make things only legal for like a year and a half?
Yeah. Maybe that's what I was
And
thinking
then
of.
and then everyone rioted because they're like, our cards will have less value.
Yeah.
And so they rioted. That was when they were it was kind of around when it was announced, like when Gideon,
Hmm.
Ally of Zendikar, was just everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was like, we'll get rid of Gideon faster
Hmm.
if we do this. We never did a spring rotation though.
Okay.
Right? They announced it, but then they canned it.
Yeah.
So it's always been 2 years for like uh I think for pretty much ever. Um with those like slight little changes, but it was always like the last like 4 sets would leave.
Okay.
So the oldest 4 sets in standard would leave in the fall, and you get that 5 set standard, that small standard. It would build
Yeah.
back out to 8, shrink back down to 5, build back out to 8, shrink down to 5. Um, so Wizards decided they wanted to have 12 set standard,
Hmm.
and they're doing this because no one's playing at their local game store anymore. At least not playing standard.
Yeah. Well, that
And
that is one of the questions that
okay,
that was posed to Wizards that we're going to get to.
gotcha. But basically, they were hoping that people would have their standard cards would be playable longer, so they'd be more valuable, and it'd be something that people would be more willing to buy into because they know they would get 3 years worth of use out of their cards.
Yep.
And the other thing they said is they were hoping to kind of avoid like the mid-range slogs and be
Hmm.
able to like what was the term they used, like do more color pair and mechanic centric decks.
Yeah, they could seed archetypes better if you're doing it over a few
A
sets
longer
instead of
period.
yeah.
They said that a bigger standard could take more swings,
Yep.
so they could maybe seed entire archetypes at a single time.
Yep.
And so that's like the thought process. And
Yep.
so many people are not super happy because at least I thought, and again, maybe because we deal more in the like
Competitive side.
competitive side of Magic,
Yeah.
that like standard gets solved very quickly.
Hmm.
And at least for the last few years, even before Fable, which Fable is kind of the main example people will point to. But there's been a lot of times where like there has been a card or two that basically like you play against it for its entire time in standard,
Yeah, can't wait for this
right?
card to leave so the format's new. Yeah.
Yeah, because like
Format defining, I guess, is a good way to
yeah,
put it.
or we had talked about a long time ago, like a pillar of the format,
Yeah.
right? Where a lot of times they will print cards that are kind of the face of a set.
Mhm.
Think Emrakul, The Promised End,
Yep.
or like I don't know if Shieldred was on the box, but Shieldred's kind of like
Yeah.
one of the main cards from Dominaria United. Or Avacyn,
Mhm.
Archangel Avacyn from was that Shadows,
Shadows, yeah.
right? Like the card that's one of the cards that's on a pack or on the box or
Yep.
like the story is about. And oftentimes those cards are like an 11.
Mhm.
And so the whole time that they're in standard, you just have to play with them
Right.
or play against them. And standard gets solved and stale pretty quickly.
Mhm.
So at least from the competitive side, a lot of people were like this does the opposite. Like now I've got to play against Fable for another year. I had to play against Shieldred for an extra year.
Yeah, I mean, it does and it doesn't, though, because I don't know. I never played extended,
Hmm.
but this bigger standard, I guess, could have parallels with extended. Extended was,
Like 4
I
years?
think it was 4 or 5 years, yeah. Um, and this bigger standard could have some parallels with extended, and I don't think extended was ever like boiled down to that where you were just slogging against the same cards every time. But
Fair.
like modern, you could kind of compare it to modern too, where like yeah, there's archetypes and there's decks that don't ever go away and cards you're always going to play against. But like, I mean, there's been times where modern's been fantastic, like the best
Hmm.
format. And I don't know. I don't think that just because there's staple cards in there that you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean. That like it doesn't mean the format is bad
Yeah.
if there are like 6 cards that you see a lot.
Right.
But I think that we've definitely been in standards again, putting on our old man hat, or at least my old man hat, right? Like an extra year of like teamer energy
Mhm.
would have like no, yes, you could have done like something sideways and Bomet couriered some prized amalgams and lived the dream,
Yeah.
right? Which I
That
know
deck
you
was
did.
great.
Yeah. Right. But like I think for a lot of people, like if you are more I know it's hard, right? Because if it's appealing to more casual people that are worried about the fact that Magic the Gathering is an expensive hobby
Mhm.
and they don't want to have to spend $400 for a new deck every year,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I mean,
Does this appeal to
obviously
them?
that's what they're going for.
That's what they're going for.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, right? If you're a casual player and you go to your F&M
Then you get stomped
and
by Evison every week.
yeah, or you like or your opponent every game, like you play 3 rounds and 2 of them is turn 3 Fable, turn 4 Shieldred,
Yeah.
and you're just like, every week it's always the same,
Yeah.
right? And like Fables are $25 a piece, and Shieldreds are like 60,
Yeah. Well,
right? Like you're not going to
so
get into that card anyway.
I guess another point that piggybacks onto what I was saying earlier is like the bigger a format is, the more room there is for kind of niche archetypes too.
True.
So, and like they said, if they're trying to support some of the, outlier stuff, um, more spread out over the life of a format, like that kind of opens up the niche strategies even more.
Mhm. I did hear someone mention, I forget who it was, that like think about like all of the draft mechanics,
Hmm.
right? How many of those have turned into legitimate constructed mechanics,
Yeah.
right? Like we had
Food.
domain, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Leyline binding,
Yeah.
and I'll wait for the next card. Shadow prophecy,
Yeah.
right? The only 2 domain cards that get played.
Yeah.
We have triomes. We have like some of the best lanes you could have for a domain deck.
Jolly Green Giant.
Yeah, we get one card.
Yeah.
Right. That like sees like real play.
Right.
Oh, what is it? Toxic.
Yeah.
Like there is a best of one toxic deck that you're just trying to race your opponent to 10.
Yeah.
And if they have 2 removal spells, you can seed the game and move on to the next one.
You know how long I spent trying to make Venerated Rat Priest work? Way too long.
But there's not enough support for it.
Yeah.
Right. And you can go through a lot of mechanics that have ended up coming up short because they don't want to.
They don't want another adventures.
Yeah,
energy.
But so like energy and adventure. So there's that. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And because they're going from whatever Dominaria now to Dominaria in the past to New Phyrexia to everywhere. Right. It is hard for them
next.
but it's hard for them to be like, okay, we're gonna have Domain and Dominaria, and we want Brothers War to feel different, so we don't want to put Domain in there for there to be enough Domain cards for Domain to work. But we also just don't want to put like 12 bangers that are Domain cards into
Dominaria.
Into Dominaria because of the Kaladesh, because of the energy adventures issue. Right. And he might be right, like Throne of Eldraine may have scared them off.
Yeah.
Right, because they were just like, here it all is.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, just like you could have just bought like 4 boxes of Throne of Eldraine and literally had a standard deck for 2 years.
Right.
So they're trying to give themselves the ability to like make it so standard isn't just like what is the best red and black card or blue and white card at 2 mana? What is the best blue or white card at 3 mana?
Right.
What is the best blue or white card at 4 mana? And it's like, oh, this one is a werewolf and this one cares about soldiers and it doesn't matter. It's just like a rate monster. So I'm going to play that.
Yeah.
What is the most efficient removal? So they're trying to get away from that. So that is where they're making this. That is their expressed reason for making the change. Cheaper and to allow them to kind of like finish out mechanics.
Well, yes. I don't. What their expressed reason is one of the questions here, and it's that they took a survey and this is what people told them that they wanted.
Okay.
So that's I guess that's better described as their justification. Their justification is that that's what they want.
All right, I missed we took a survey, that's what people said.
Yeah. Real quick before we get into that.
Okay.
This was a Discord thing.
Yes.
It's awful hard to like advertise a Discord chat.
I get
like if people wanted to be part of this, they had to like randomly be in the Magic Wizards whatever Discord like when these people were in there.
I assume it was probably a like tweet that like I probably didn't see.
Yeah.
Because like I got to get around like all the Elon Musk tweets he posts about himself and whatnot. And like a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, have like stepped away from Twitter recently. So like I think it makes that harder because I would assume the way you would like get this out normally a year ago, 2 years ago would be you'd tweet about it.
Yeah.
And then people would find out that you had a Discord server.
Yeah.
But hey, for like them, right? If you make people come to your Discord server, now they're in your Discord server.
Yeah.
Now when you like hit them with things, it is not the best way to like do this. But at the same time, though, like there are more people on Reddit, but if this was just like a Reddit AMA,
Right.
like I wonder if they have more control over the questions.
Maybe. I don't know. It just seems super weird because, again, old man shaking my fist yelling at the clouds. Like, when Wizards had something they wanted to tell you, they wrote an article about it and put it on their website, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where you heard about it. You didn't have
Or
to
they put
read an article on Dota or Esports Weekly or this random Discord chat or a stream on Twitch that you may or may not have time for, or wherever else that they're putting this information out. Like, things that are fundamental to your game, you should probably have a cohesive way of like getting that information to people.
the the point about it not like not being on the mothership
Yeah,
is I think very valid. I also wonder how many people have they fired
right.
as writers because they've decided that that is not something that they want to pay for anymore
Well, why would they pay a
because
writer when you can
beans.
just give the information to whatever e-zine and let them do it?
Oh, exactly. Like, hey, we're gonna have Huey like throw this stuff in Chat GPT and then send it to you and call it good.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it is weird that it wasn't like that these points. No, I could see like we don't know what the questions are gonna be,
right.
but none of these questions were like super like out of left field.
No, I mean, they're all stuff that like should have been part of the plan. So
Yeah,
like there should
they're
have been
all
answers for this.
they're all things that if Huey was a player
Right.
and he heard about this, he would have asked,
Right.
right? So, all right, so the first question, the question that we all think we know the answer to
Yeah.
is are bands going to be more aggressive? And the answer was definitely maybe on a regular schedule.
Yeah.
Um the regular schedule thing I think is funny because I went away.
I clicked the
I'm
button.
back.
Don't do that.
Don't click buttons. Don't click buttons. Um, but um, we used to have a regular schedule. There was like
Right.
it was like 3 weeks after release or something, or
Yeah.
like a month after release. They would it was banned and restricted day,
Right.
and you'd either get like no changes or changes.
Right.
They always put something out. It would either be like, "Hey, it was banned and restricted day. We did nothing,"
Hmm.
or "Hey, it was banned and restricted day. Here's what we did." As opposed to now, it's like if oh gosh, I was just gonna call him Reed's brother, but I don't remember what his actual name is.
Ian.
Ian Duke. There we
Yeah.
go. If Ian Duke like, you know, gets into a heated conversation at like the Olive Garden over lunch, like
While
he
you're
just
waiting
comes
for your
back and he's
Pioneer
like,
update.
yeah, and he's just like ban. Right? It's like I like did we know there was gonna be a ban? No, like
Yeah.
there's just like a tweet and it's just like, hey, we've changed your formats.
Right.
Effective immediately. It's like these cards are in the mail, you bastards. Like what have you done to me?
Yeah.
Um
I'll never
so they want to
financially
go
recover.
yes. I'm ruined. um but like they want to go back to a regular schedule and they said that they how did they put it? Basically that like that it is likely that it's going to be more aggressive, but they have not like finalized a plan or something.
Yeah. And I mean, this
So
is like the whole tone of this is very similar to when they rolled out the new competitive play system, where they're like,
mhm.
we're changing this, but we don't know how.
Yeah, and it's also the same vibe of like, well, we thought it was really important that we let you know about this part as soon as possible,
Right.
and we're gonna fill in the rest of the stuff later.
Yeah.
And it's like, take a month, dog,
Yeah.
and like figure it out.
Yeah, really. We're not getting another standard set until the fall, so you got
Or
some time.
I mean, in the olden days, this is where we started to tell people to like start offloading your standard cards that we're gonna rotate.
Yeah.
So, like, if you wanted to come out and say, "Hey, we're going to change standard rotation, and July 1st,
Mhm.
we are going to come out with what, like, the plan is going forward."
Yeah.
Okay. As opposed to drips and drabs of, like, maybe kinda sorta
Right.
stuff. Like, it'd been much better to be like, "So you don't sell your cards, Fable the Mirror Breaker is not rotating. Hold on to that bad boy.
Yeah.
And we're gonna tell you what new standard is going to look like, what our plans are on this date,
Yeah.
or, like, even if you wanna wait until closer to, uh, Wilds of Eldraine, closer to the fall set."
Mhm.
But, like, these, like, "Hey, we're gonna do more things, but we don't know what." It's like, well, no, like, either
Yeah.
wait and do it all at once, or, like, give yourself, like, a date to be like, "Hey, stop asking us until we miss this deadline."
Yeah.
So,
I like how you phrased that.
what?
Until we miss the deadline.
Yes. Right, if they hit the deadline, then you don't have to harass them. The
Yeah.
deadline was here, we hit it, we move on.
Well,
But if it's
the
July
implication
2nd,
though is that you're not going to hear anything. So
yeah, you're just gonna miss it. But, like, I think they I think they have to be more aggressive with bans
oh yeah, for sure.
for the point we are making earlier, that, like, there are a lot of people that, I mean, Saffron Olive brought this up. I think Covert Go Blue was like, he was like, "Yeah, I was doing a video and I was just like, oh my God, I can't wait for a fill in the blank card to rotate."
Mhm.
And then all of you in the comments were like, "Not for another year," because I recorded the video before the announcement.
Yeah.
And, like, there was a video that Saffron Olive was doing, and he was like, I can't wait for Invoke to rotate. I've only got to get through like 6 more months and it's gone."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, no,
Yeah.
actually,
Actually.
it's for a year.
Yep.
And it's like, so there's already at least some people that are like, "I'm sick of this."
Mhm.
And, like, even if you're not playing as many games, right? Like, if you're consuming content, which is again free advertising for Wizards product,
Right.
and you just see like the same 3 decks every single time,
Yeah. You get
you're like,
bored.
"I don't want to play that. Like, that sucks. I don't want to keep watching. I don't want to keep watching this advertisement that might make me buy cards."
Right.
Holds up deck that he bought because of a YouTube video, right? Like, so, like, having those same cards there just makes people, I think, less excited to play.
Mhm.
I want to do this really fun thing. Okay, does it beat Fable into Shieldred? No. Okay, well, it might be fun, but
Yeah. Can't do
you're
it.
gonna you're gonna lose, or you're not gonna be able to do it.
Yeah.
All right.
So next up, we have were the next sets, specifically Eldraine and Ixalan, designed with a 3-year standard in mind? This is a legitimate question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is full of confidence.
Full confidence.
Not
Nah, but I don't think it
exactly.
matters.
Yeah, they said not exactly, but I don't anticipate it being a problem. Once we realized we want to make this change, we figured a little uncertainty on how the next year's sets would mesh with Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow was worth it as opposed to waiting another year to make the change. So get ready for some broken stuff, I guess, because these cards weren't supposed to play together.
Yeah, like, you know, there could definitely be some things that are just wonky. Because,
Well,
like,
so I guess it's a good thing. Like Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt were underpowered compared to what we've had.
mhm.
So maybe it's a good thing that those sets were underpowered, and those are going to be the ones that are affected.
But you have Kamigawa.
Oh, that's true. That definitely wasn't underpowered.
That was not underpowered. And then what was the next one?
Um.
Was Val, Hunt, and Streets.
Oh yeah. Well, Streets was a
Right.
little underpowered too.
It was, but as one of the later questions brings up, our mana is ridiculously good.
Yeah.
what is to stop us from just being like, oh, there's a really good blue-green card in Wilds of Eldraine.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that goes in my Rakdos deck because I can definitely cast it. It doesn't matter,
Right.
right? Oh, we fixed Oko.
Yeah.
I guess he goes in my deck. Blood Tithe Harvester
Well, I
into
mean,
Oko
he
go.
might not be a planeswalker anymore. So we may
No,
get creature Oko that like taps to make a creature an elk instead of gains loyalty.
Oh, what was that? What's that
And
old?
then maybe we're going back to Shadowmoor with the untap symbol. You can tap it to make an elk and then untap it to switch control of something.
There's a there's a really old it's a Legends card that's like tap gain control of a
Rubina Soul Singer.
Yeah, that's just you tap in your things at elk is for as long as Oko remains tapped.
Oh yeah, there you go.
There you go. So yeah, it does not instill confidence.
Yeah.
Like, did they like do this and immediately go like, oh no, we've got to ban 2 cards because this is not good?
I mean, that's totally something they would do.
Yeah, like oops.
Yep.
You know, or like there's not a lot of blink shenanigans, so we probably won't have a Felidar Guardian situation.
Hopefully.
But yeah, it does not instill confidence. Like, it is definitely a like an afterthought decision.
Yep.
I mean, going back to the previous point, if they would have let these sets rotate and then say, hey, starting with Throne of Eldraine, we're gonna have like Dominaria is not gonna. Gosh, I keep saying Throne. Wilds of Eldraine. We're gonna be in a 3-year rotation, so Dominaria is gonna go away.
Mm-hmm.
No, Dominaria is not gonna go away, but these other sets are, so that you can be designing with that 3 years. I understand and that could, God forbid, give you like enough time to figure out exactly what you wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, somebody has been thinking about this for quite some time because the infamous post that like started this whole thing, or like this whole thing gets referenced back to. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. It was 8 months ago.
Yeah, I feel like you could have figured something out, or 6 months. Maybe it was further. Yeah, I don't know why November comes to mind, but it might have been earlier.
Yeah. No, that sounds right.
Yeah, but still, like you could have
months of time.
You could have figured something out.
Yeah, to at least give a heads up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All right. What is our?
I'm sure they've got an intern that they could have put to work. Altering sets. Oh, this is going to be a problem. Let's fix this card. You get on that.
Exactly. All right.
The next question is about comp play. It says, will the formats for RCQs and regional championships be changing to standard to emphasize this revamped focus on standard? And the short answer is no. They're not going to change comp play to reflect the changes to standard. They're going to keep it as it is. So it will still be represented, but only once a year.
Which for as many things as they've changed in comp play, it is kind of good that they're like, no, this is our model.
Yep.
We're sticking to it.
Yep.
So that's at least good.
Yep. No, I'm down with that. It harkens back to a previous time when there used to be like a modern season and a standard season.
Mm-hmm.
Where you kind of geared up and got good for a format because all your competitive events were going to be that format.
Yeah, so standard, pioneer, modern. So yeah, like it'll be good to kind of keep that cadence.
Yep.
And that's at least not going to like change at the drop of a hat.
Yep. And they said they have no plans to change the formats to coincide with this announcement.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so here, this is a thing you're passionate about, or
yeah.
were at one point.
Yeah.
Have the decks in the future League been designed around this change? Now, first, for the uninitiated, what is the future League?
So that is, I don't even know if they do the future League anymore, do they? I mean, I guess so.
Apparently they do.
This is a question. We used to get an article, and I I waited for this article to come out every time, because they would, for every new set, I forget how long it was, but a certain period of time after release, they would release an article about the Future League for this set. So the Future League is like their in-house playtesting for like every set, where they have people playing standard jamming games against each other to kind of get a feel about what the format's going to be like. And it was kind of a source of ridicule, because we'd look at these decks and see how far off the mark they were, and it was usually pretty far off the mark. But so their answer to this question, have the decks in Future League been designed around this change? The answer is they will have been starting a year from now. So not currently.
Not currently.
Yep.
All right. So I just want to give people a sense of Future League.
Yeah.
A card that dominated the Future League.
Mm-hmm.
Cultivator of Blades, 3 green for a 1/1 with Fabricate 2, which is either got a +1/+2/+1 counters, or you meet 2 1/1s. And whenever Cultivator of Blades attacks, you may have another attacking creature get +X/+X the end of turn, where X is Cultivator of Blades power. That card was bad and limited.
Mm-hmm.
And like they had decks built around it in the Future League.
Yep.
So we always got a good laugh.
Well, I think the big story was it First Response? It was an enchantment, 3 and a white, and if you lost life during the turn, you made like a 1/1 token or something. And that card was so overrepresented that's why we got Siege Rhino in its current iteration.
Okay, it is amazing that you got that card as close as you did.
Yeah.
As it was literally never played ever, not once. At the beginning of 3 and a white for an enchantment, impressive. Beginning of each upkeep, if you lost life last turn, get a 1/1 white soldier creature token.
Yeah.
There were pain lands.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the pain lands, you could make yourself do that. And they're like, oh, Siege Rhino needs to trample because all these 1/1s like brick wallet.
Yep.
And yeah. But impressive pull for First Response. But yes. Yeah. So basically, were you internally testing these cards to go together? No. We're just gonna hope for the best.
Yep.
And pan our way out if it's bad.
Yep.
I think is what it comes down to.
At least for the next year, until things have started to be planned for. So the next one is what you alluded to earlier. It says, with the Triomes, Pain Lands, and Check Lands remaining in Standard, do you have a plan to keep the format from devolving into 5-color rare piles?
The answer was we printed lay down arms and ossification, so we've been trying.
Yeah, keep a lookout for more cards that push you to a monocolor strategies, or like we had mentioned in last week's episode, push you towards a theme. So they're going to be a lot more incentivized to do that kind of stuff than let you just play Rainbow Trade Binder or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know like how effective those cards have been at pushing people to not do that.
Yeah.
As that's always, I guess we have red, black, and Grixis.
Mm-hmm.
And then mono white sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, green cards exist. So which is funny because like PT Oko, we only got to play green cards.
Right.
Like it was green cards and nothing else. But
so there was a rebuttal to this answer.
Okay.
And the rebuttal was, it'd be worrying if the main way you wanted to disincentivize 3 to 5 color piles was by pushing everything else to their power level, because that level is quite high. Can we get an assurance that this isn't the case? And the answer to the rebuttal was, it's hard to make assurances since our job is predictive. Confidence inspiring.
Yeah, like like you can't make you can't be like, we need people to play less Rakdos, so we need to print like Questing Beach Junior
Right.
and make it a 3/3 for green
Yeah.
that has all the Questing Beast text.
Right.
Right. Or like it's green. Right. Like that can't be the answer. It's just like, well, we're gonna push him to this by, and I understand that being the like what you're afraid of is the easiest thing to do is to knock a mana off or something, or to like give it an extra power.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean,
And so
kind of what we already talked about though is I don't know. I'm hoping. I don't know why I still have hope anymore, but I'm hoping that they're going to do more for synergies instead of power level. Like
mhm.
you can help a strategy out by printing more synergistic cards for that strategy. You don't have to just ratchet the power level up. Now, what we've seen a lot lately is them just ratcheting the power level up, but hopefully
Mhm.
this like extended period of time for these cards to be in standard is going to help the synergy aspect where they can kind of tone down the power level a little bit.
Yeah, that was something that I commented on coming back to Magic, is I felt like when I had played years and years ago,
Mm-hmm.
like things were more like they kind of had to be like synergy because nothing was powerful.
Right.
So you had to find cards that worked well together. And then when I came back, it was uh the tail end of blue white elixir of immortality control.
Oh,
Uh right. And mono black.
yeah.
And then we went right into like cons, which was like 5 color
Yeah.
or 3 color pile of Abzan cards that like here's a ferocious card and here's a card that cares about exiling cards from a graveyard, and
Yeah.
there wasn't like a lot, and here's a raid card. It wasn't cards that like went together, and I was like, I wish there were more decks that had synergy.
Yeah.
And you notice like in older formats there are a lot of decks that have more synergy
Mm-hmm.
because like there are more cards than you have just, you know, Amulet of Vigor and Timeless Lotus work very well together.
Mm-hmm.
3 Amulets of Vigor and a Timeless Lotus work even better together.
Yeah.
But, right, like those things were never supposed to live together.
Right.
And so now you have this situation where you have this deck that has synergy.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like the more recent sets are, it's just like one of the most powerful things because there isn't that time to get the synergies, or not the like story space,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because oh, we've got to go from, you know, Dominaria now to Dominaria 100 years ago.
Right.
So you don't have that ability to like get all those things in. So hopefully they do that, but it is not great. They're like, well, we might just miss super hard.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, like I will admit, like I read Shieldred is not as powerful, but like we missed, and now it's just like, oh, like this is a card that like makes archetypes in like every format.
Right.
Like I don't think that's what they wanted.
What's
All
what's
right.
that Adam Savage saying failure's always an option?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So here you go. Do you have any intentions to increase accessibility of standard cards on paper, like more frequent challenger decks, to give it the same player injection as Commander? And it's like, I like this, but this was Aaron Forsyth, I do believe. I'm
Yeah.
in favor of this, but given the poor performance of previous standard challenger decks, we'll probably need more input from retailers that think this is a that will think this is a boon.
Yeah.
And do standard challenger decks perform poorly because standard itself is doing poorly, or does standard do poorly because of the lack of accessible and exciting challenger decks?
Yeah.
And it was like, uh,
Yeah. There was no answer there.
yeah. So
I
I
mean,
think a few
I
things.
understand the point that like Aaron Forsyth was trying to say there, that like it doesn't matter if that's what they want to do or not. If like like this whole thing is to try and get standard back into game stores, right? Because
Yes.
according to like all data that's been released, even if I don't agree with it, like standard is still gangbusters on Arena. So
Mhm.
all of these changes are strictly to benefit LGSs, supposedly. If no LGSs are going to buy the Challenger decks because they've been stinkers and nobody cares about standard, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter,
Mhm.
like, if that's what players want. Like, if the game stores already have cases of old ones in the back room that they can't move, that are going to get harder to move as time goes on, um, they're not going to be willing to buy that product again, no matter like how many people are interested in it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or they're going to extremely limit their exposure to it because they don't need cases of them sitting in the back room anymore.
Fair. So, um, I just went and looked at the decks.
Mm-hmm.
So they started in 2018
Mm-hmm.
with Hazaret Aggro, Vehicle Rush. This was like Mardu vehicles, Second Sun Control, and Counter Surge, which is green black, so it's Winding Constrictor.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. I think they were like late. And I think part of it,
Yeah.
these were like late. Like if you bought them, you only got like 6 months of like the deck, right?
Well, I think that was by design, though,
Hmm.
because they were supposed to be representative of whatever like did well at the Pro
The
Tour.
fall Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And then we have 2019 United Assault, which was mono white, Convoke, Loxodon.
Mm-hmm.
Lightning Aggro, which was some mono red nonsense. I'm trying to see if there's something that like reminds me of what was in it. Fanatical Firebrand, Get to Lava Runner, Themekin, Viashino Pyromancer. Oh, this is the like Experimental Frenzy deck.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. And then they do stuff like this, where that deck played 4 Experimental Frenzies.
Mm-hmm. It's what made
This
the deck
deck
work.
this had 2, and they gave you a Banefire.
Yeah.
No one, literal no one played Banefire in that deck.
Yeah.
And they're like, Banefire you. Like, thanks. Thanks, guys. Much. And like 4 Diamond Mare? Like, what are we doing here? um, and then where are we at here? Deadly Discovery, which was the Explorer deck,
Mm-hmm.
and then Arcane Tempo, which I don't even remember. Oh, that was our boy Niv.
Yep.
With Goblin Electromancer, another card that never got played in any of those decks.
Right.
And 1 Arclight Phoenix,
Just the one.
just the one. You just got to give him a taste of
Yeah.
free 3/2 flyers. So like where they had these was a little rough in terms of how much time you were going to get with the deck,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know,
Right, but like this standard rotation fixes that issue because
it
instead of
does.
having 6 months, you'll have 18 months.
It does. And I would also, and then we have 2020, 2021. Just throw those sales numbers out. They don't matter.
Right.
Right. And then, uh, and then 2022, maybe those numbers don't matter much either.
Yeah.
So like
After
you
you
only have
already
like
killed
2,
standard.
yeah, you already have like 2 years of real data.
Yeah.
I remember being a little excited about the Pioneer deck, Azoria Spirits, Lotus Field combo, Mono Red Burn, and Black White Auras. Like that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
The first set. I think that part of it is like the decks need to be better.
Yeah.
And you know, it does though run into the problem of if it is about making your cards worth more longer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if every year like they're gonna just print 80% of the top tier standard decks, or 80% of 4 top tier standard decks,
Yeah.
your cards lose value rather quickly,
Right.
but more people get to play standard.
Yeah, I
So,
don't know. I think the the point of view of Aaron Forsyth here that I can kind of get behind though is that like Wizards has already burned that. You know what I
oh,
mean?
absolutely. Yeah, I understand that, like, we gave you 5 years worth of products or 4 years worth of products that sucked or
And
that didn't sell.
well, so this also wasn't the first iteration of this because we had Clash packs and event decks that were almost this exact same thing. They
I
were,
don't remember.
well, maybe not Clash packs, but we had event decks that used to come out with releases that were
Mm,
a deck built around a mechanic for whatever set was there. And, you know, maybe they weren't supposed to be like top tier decks like these were, but I'd argue that some of these weren't top tier decks either.
yeah,
Um, but and they didn't do well. So we
no.
had Clash packs that didn't do well, event decks that didn't do well. We had dual decks that didn't do well, and we had challenger decks that didn't do well. Even if you come out with, you know, a banger precon for standard and call it something else, like you've already kind of burned this whole product line multiple times in the eyes of
Mhm.
the LGS. Like it doesn't matter what you do at this point because nobody's, if the LGS doesn't buy it, then your players aren't going to buy it.
Fair. I think that, like, the question of can we get a more, oh gosh, what is it called? A more accessible standard price-wise, I think that is a good question to try to address
Hmm.
because,
Well, they
you
already
know,
have though. Like everything's printed into the ground.
it is, but it's weird, right? Like, so if we just look at Goldfish, right? Um, so Rakdos mid-range and Grixis mid-range are both $450 plus, or like right around there. One's 473, one's 445. Then you have Soldiers is only 150.
Mhm.
Mono Red is 100. Esper mid range 500. Mono Blue Tempo $69.
Nice.
Nice. Um Orzhov mid range is like 330. Like, I guess where is the where is the line? Right? Like, they can't predict that they can't, like, from the beginning go like, okay, we think Rakdos mid range is going to be the best deck. We want this. We want the most expensive standard deck to be $400
Yeah.
or like 300, right? And like, okay, how do we like move where these cards are rarity wise, or
Yeah.
in what things to
Well,
get things to that point?
so like I guess what my point was though is that when you have three different kinds of booster products that all get opened excessively, plus all the other ways that they're injecting cards into every format now. Um, like on average, I think the price has come down. Like if you look at a set, um, like how many of those cards are $40 cards? One.
Um, yeah, probably.
So like you're right. I mean, decks might be expensive, but cards from a set that you have to collect when a set comes out in order to, you know, keep your decks up or whatever is less than it used to be. And if you're if the specific goal of this whole thing is to kind of bring up the less supported archetypes, like decks are going to get cheaper because of that.
Yeah, I I guess the my point being is that yes, while they are printing cards into the ground,
Mhm.
Like, it feels like the cost of a standard deck is kind of the same, right? Like, how much did like Abzan Rhinos cost to put together? Right,
Um,
or
I don't know, a bunch.
a bunch,
Yeah.
right? Like, so like I guess I feel like there was like Seth did a video about this at some point. I was like trying to see if I could find the article, but uh
I mean, we've certainly had more expensive standards than $600 a deck standards.
yes, we have. But like I was just trying to figure out like if it was about the same,
Mhm.
but um it feels like it has gone kind of up over the years. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's kind of stayed the
Mm,
same.
yeah, I don't know. Actually, I think completely anecdotal from my memory that isn't as great as it used to be. I want to say like $400 a deck is pretty good for standard, at
Yeah,
least from what I
maybe.
can remember.
So, yeah, but like the problem is what the line is for this is affordable, this is accessible for each person is going to change, right?
Yeah.
Right, for you and I, like maybe a $400 standard deck is accessible. And I was like, yeah, no, fine.
Hmm.
But then for other people, they're like, I want to play, but I only have like $100.
Right.
And it's like, cool. Do you like mountains?
Yeah.
Do you like islands and poopers?
Right.
Because if you do,
I got the deck
that
for
deck's
you.
always in the format always, apparently.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like if the if the issue is that for the average Magic player, right, they would rather spend $400 on their commander deck
Hmm.
than $400 on a standard deck. The only way you get them with a standard deck in their hand is to make that standard deck cheaper.
Yeah.
And you know, if the if
Well, so
the
like that's a whole separate
it
can
is,
of worms question though, because like Wizards has done a really good job about converting people to play Commander over the last 4 years, right?
yeah.
Look at the bear. Like he doesn't make standard content anymore. He makes Commander content.
Reed Duke's getting people outside his house with pitchforks because he like
Yeah.
said to like play removal in Commander,
Yeah.
or something, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So like those people like you've kind of already lost them because it's
mhm.
the same thing that we've always said about how Magic is competing with, every other form of entertainment. Well, now your formats are competing with each other.
Yeah, and like
Like
people,
why are Commander players going to play Standard when they could play Commander and like they already have their deck and it doesn't rotate? What about Standard is going to entice them?
yeah, and this I think I mentioned this last week was just like humans respond to incentives,
Yeah.
and for the last like 4 years, all the incentives were geared towards
Yeah.
Commander,
Yeah.
and now they're like, oh wait, people don't play Standard. There used to be giant things, we called them GPs,
Mhm.
and half of them a year said, "You're incentivized to play Standard and come here and do this."
Yeah.
And now we have Magic Cons, and from what I gather, it's like a bunch of people playing Standard and some draft tables and a couple like on-demand side events for other formats.
Bunch of people playing Commander.
Yes, it's Commander,
Yeah. You said Standard.
some oh sorry, a bunch
Yeah.
of people playing Commander,
Yeah.
some draft people, and then whoever can like hold the little like TGI Fridays like waiting thing till it buzzes, and eight other people like had a
Yeah.
modern deck or a standard deck.
Yeah.
Right? It's a bunch of people playing Commander and then everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if I want to go to one of these things with my friends, I clearly have to play Commander.
Right.
Right? What did you do all weekend? I played side events. I
I mean,
waited
that
for
used
an
to play
hour.
a thing you could do.
Yeah, I waited an hour and a half for an eighth modern player.
Yeah, I played Winnaboxes all weekend.
Yeah, I won a box or two.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, we've changed the incentives of Magic
Mhm.
through organized play, through advertising and marketing, through like the cards we print,
Right.
right? Like a tally would never have been like you play this and then you cast 4 cards for free,
Right.
right? If it wasn't for Commander. Well, you cast a card from each player's library. It's like, yeah, that's a Commander card
Right.
that just happens to be great in Standard,
Yeah.
right? Like, or a thing you want to reanimate in Standard,
Yeah.
right? So you just have all these cards that you've kind of like even the cards that you're printing are like, this is a Commander card,
Yeah.
right? It's like they're printing Commander cards, and then some of them happen to be good in Standard,
Mhm.
as opposed to printing Standard cards and then some of them being good in Commander.
Right. So
So,
your whole thing about incentives kind of leans into this next question here.
oh, sweet. I didn't mean to do that, but I mean,
Well,
I totally meant to do that.
yeah, it was good, great planning.
Thank
How
you.
do you plan on supporting local game stores hosting Standard again? Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of specifics about what additional programs or support might look like today, but we're working on it, and we'll have more to share in the not too distant future.
Um, again, I'm not a PR person. I'm sure that Blake has a drinking problem at this point in his life.
Having to deal
Um,
with the pitchforks and the torches.
yeah, or just reading these things and just like, what you could have done?
Yeah,
Not done anything.
right.
You could have
Not answered
not
that
gone on
question.
Discord. You could have not gone on Discord
Yeah,
and been like, ask us stuff.
yeah,
You could have like taken that hour and thought about what you wanted to do so you had answers to questions when you got on Discord,
right.
right? Like, you know, on one hand, they do a lot of things that are like, hey, it's the store championship. Make it whatever format you can get 8 idiots to show up and play,
Yeah.
right? But God forbid, don't make it a draft. Don't do that. Um, we'll take your stuff away. Um, so on one hand, you want to give the stores the freedom to be like, we don't have a good standard scene, so we're not gonna make the game day or whatever thing standard because it won't happen.
Mhm.
But I think you've got to make people want to play standard,
Right.
and I is that you
Well, I
know
mean, we already have format specific promos. Like, why couldn't they do that?
they could make the promos good. Remember when they were Fatal Push?
Yeah,
Simpler
yeah,
times,
yeah.
right? Like I don't know, like you get like Atraxa,
Hmm.
right? You make top 8 of your like weekly event, you get an Atraxa.
Hmm.
Oh, but then Atraxa will get cheap. Okay, like
Isn't that
that's
the
probably
point?
not the worst. Isn't
Yeah,
that like that's not the worst thing in the world?
right,
Or you like getting a tally,
right.
right? Whatever. Like really go hard on it,
Get a
and
fable.
not you get a fable. You get one Goblin Shaman,
There you go. $8 token.
$8 token. You get one.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it seems like you could definitely do things, you know, again, like way back in the day. This is something that like we brought up uh when it happened, right? You used to if you played at your local store, you would get points towards getting like a buy at a GP or something, right?
Yeah.
Like could you have a thing where like, you know, playing constructed or like a like monthly standard event where people play standard and you get like the winner gets a code for like one shot at like an arena open,
Hmm. Oh yeah, that'd be
right?
a great thing.
Like once a month, there's the standard the standard showdown, but yeah, the standard showdown,
Yeah.
right? And if you win this, you get an entry into next week's standard arena open.
Yeah.
Great, cool. Like now there's an incentive, or even if it's like a quarterly thing, right? Once a
Hmm.
quarter, right? You're playing for, you know, to get into that. And hey, like now you're getting people to get onto arena, you're
Yeah.
getting to play in the store, like synergies,
Right.
right? But you're giving people a reason to play standard and to like put them the on the train kind of, right?
Hmm.
Like cuz we talked about before there was a straight line you could draw from I played in my store,
Right.
I got good, I played a PTQ or an RPTQ or whatever,
Yeah.
and I won that, and then I went to the next step, and if I did well there, I could make it to the Pro Tour,
Right.
right? And now it's like, yeah, you play at your local game store, and that really doesn't do anything to get you kind of the rest of the way.
Yeah.
That chain is broken, or like you played at your local game store and you earned points to get a buy at a GP,
Hmm.
and now you're closer to day twoing that GP than you were before.
Or you won your GPT and you want to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I definitely remember being like, I need to win like 8 matches this week so I have 2 buys next week.
Absolutely.
And like, okay, I gotta go play like 4 events this week.
Yeah.
And I gotta go 2-1 at a bunch of them. And
Yeah.
I'd go do that. And we don't have that. So like just a way to kind of rebuild some part of that chain.
Hmm. So
Again, my DMs are open.
the next one here is what I had alluded to earlier. Um, why did you decide to go to a 3-year rotation instead of lowering the power of standard to make it more accessible with a 2-year rotation? And the answer was when we investigated the struggles that tabletop standard has been having recently, referencing that tweet.
Mhm.
The rotation being short was the biggest piece of feedback we received.
Mm.
So this
In
was,
terms of pain points, yeah.
yeah. So we
Um
kind of already talked about this one, but
yeah. But again, like much like at work when they're like, "Hey, like, uh, tell us what you guys have done the last 3 years to improve student learning," and my response is, "I have no data since 2020
yeah,
because none of it counts.
right.
Right? It's all just worthless. Right? Like, I don't know. Like, you have 2 years where people aren't playing standard at all. They're not invested.
Right.
They moved to webcam commander."
Hmm.
And now they're like, yeah, standard's too expensive. It's like, yes, because they've entrenched themselves in another format.
Right.
So, all right. What do we got here? Will there be any consideration for either the return of blocks or 2 large set blocks like recent Ravnica, or a return of core sets to allow there to be less parasitic mechanics in a 3-year standard? And they're like, basically, we want to do like story stuff.
Yeah.
And so we want to move around for the sake of the story.
Hmm.
And basically, we realize that, like we talked about this before a little bit, that things don't fit together right now
Right.
because we're not spending enough time to build out stuff.
But this goes back to kind of what they said about seeding archetypes is you can
Hmm.
revisit an archetype, a year and a half later and still have it be relevant or make it relevant in standard. And that kind of does the same thing as, fleshing out a mechanic over the course of a block, where instead of doing it, all at once in 1 year, you can do it over the course of 3 years now.
I think that there is an issue with the lack of core sets
Yeah, me too.
because it used to be that the core set was where you put Pithing Needle.
Well, it
where
was
you
also where you got people into the game. Like core sets were less complex cards for the most part.
Mhm.
And yeah, like you said, it's where you put answers to format problems.
or just like generic answers like
Yeah.
pithing needle, Grafdigger's Cage,
Yeah.
uh ley lines if you wanted ley lines, right? Like you can put just, hey, I don't need some like big ochre overarching theme with an angry dinosaur
Hmm.
and blah blah blah. No, no, I just need cards that make magic work.
Right.
And so I can put cards that make magic work here.
Yeah.
Now I heard some people had said that I haven't seen this independently, but I forget who I was watching was saying that like Wizards has said that core sets sold poorly,
Yeah. Well, I
and
think the summer set in general sold poorly. That's why we don't have summer sets anymore. That's why they're supplemental sets now.
yeah, I was gonna say like it might just be the summer,
Yeah.
which because it's funny. I like wasn't it we used to have the core set in the summer because kids weren't in school,
Yep.
and now kids got other things to do. They got them dang cell phones. They got them tiki talkies.
That's right.
Got them tiki talkies and them tweeters
Yep.
and those graham crackers. I mean Instagram. So like it would be nice if you had a set where you could like put the safety valves
Mm,
and you don't have to and like you can just be like it's a time travel set, this is an old version of
right.
fill in the blank person, and not be like, oh well, it all needs to have this cohesive overarching story,
Yeah.
because like you get into these situations where like there's no place to put these cards and then standard spirals out of control,
Right.
and then it's just like, like they could even print like a dumb thing, destroy target token and target enchantment,
Hmm.
right? And or target enchantment.
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations, you just murked both halves of Fable.
Yeah.
And you and we made that card green white to
To
encourage people
incentivize a different archetype.
to play green white stuff because you have the best answer to Fable,
Yeah.
right? And it also has destroy evil's text to destroy a creature uh, toughness 4 or greater, so it can also get a shieldred. Like just like here you go.
It does
Here
it
you go.
all.
Please play this card. Please
Yeah.
play these colors. Please.
Yeah.
And exile a card from a graveyard. Please play these colors. Um so yeah, it would be nice if we had those back, but yeah. And then where's the what would what would this have on the impact of decisions what this would oh god. I can't read.
I got it.
W-
Would this have any impact on the decision to have rare land cycles in sets? As in, perhaps fewer sets would have rare land cycles since they'll be available in standard longer. And we kind of already saw this, right? Didn't would
Mom doesn't have a rare land cycle.
yeah. I thought there was a
And
recent set that didn't have a rare land cycle.
Mom doesn't, and the other ones,
Yeah.
Dominaria didn't. No,
Yeah, we
Dominaria.
had
One of
pain
the
lands. The
Brothers
pain
War
lands.
didn't.
Well, the pain
Or
lands were
no.
spread across two sets, right?
Okay, that's
Dominaria and
right.
Brothers War.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, but Mom doesn't have
Yeah.
them. I think because those spots were taken up by battles.
Yeah.
Um.
But the answer to this was we'll be increasing the level of utility lands and colorless lands in our future sets. Well, that bodes
It,
well for depths.
it does. Daddy likes himself a utility land.
Yeah.
This was also Andrew Brown. Great question. Something close to my heart.
Yeah.
So, like, the rare land cycle was a thing I think you could get away with years ago, but like you're running out of places to innovate
Right.
without doing something heinous to other formats.
Right.
So like you have to be careful, and so you either have to replete yourself or you just like print better and better and better and better rare
Yeah, I
lands.
mean, I can't think of many more like rare dual lands that could be printed.
Um, I mean, I have the what's it called? The dual land killer, fast lands with land types,
Fast lands with land types, yeah.
right? But like that does something heinous to your older
Well,
formats.
so that was kind of where I was going, was if like there aren't many more rare dual land designs, where do we go next? Rare tri-land designs? And like there's really not any room to grow there without severely breaking every other format.
Yeah,
Like I don't think you can make something better than a triome and not destroy every format.
yeah, like you can't like make them cycle for less
Yeah.
because
Or
that just
make them come into
invalidates
play untapped with a downside. Like
the downsides. That yeah,
I don't think
you
you can
can't
make a
make
big enough downside for that to be okay.
them bolt lands.
Right.
And they deal you 3 damage.
Fine.
Sweet, I'll
I'm
take
in.
3. I mean, I'm just gonna play a lot of Death Shadow. Let's go.
Yeah.
Um,
5-color Death Shadow.
um. So yeah, like I think that they are running out of those kind of designs, which makes it hard. And when you print like some, when you feel compelled to print a dual land or a rare land cycle
Mhm.
in every set, that leads you to 5-color piles
Right.
and 3 and 4-color piles, right? Because now the mana is really good and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, and the mana is already going to be good by the time you come up to a 3-year rotation anyway.
Yeah, it just has to be.
Yeah.
Even like it comes to a point where like, even there are times where the uncommon duels are playable,
Mhm.
right? You're just like, I need like one extra black red source. I guess we're going with Bloodfell Caves,
Yep. It's your time to
right?
shine, Jungle Hollow.
Yeah, come on, buddy. We gotta rock them out here. Let's go.
Yep. All right. I think the next couple are pretty quick. We already touched on the last one, but the next one is what made you change the rotation for standard and not alchemy? I thought that alchemy was standard, but with a bit more cards and rebalance cards to allow more diversity. And their response was that arena moves really fast and they want to leave a format that moves at the speed of arena. And alchemy is that format where
Mm,
things just change constantly.
cool. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, me neither. See,
Um,
told you that one was going to go quick. Moving on.
yes, we're done here.
Yeah. And then,
And finally,
the last one is something we had already talked about.
yeah.
Can we keep Fable of the Mirror Breaker in standard forever?
Uh,
I want to know the person who said this and how they were hurt. Because this is a
like
damaged human being.
this is very true. I'm
I'm
assuming that
sorry. I just want to give this person a hug. I'm very sorry
on
for whatever happened to you. I'm sorry.
I know on Twitch you put the little like Kappa guy's face
Yeah.
when you're joking. Like, did they like? Is there not the analogous thing on Discord? Can you not get the Kappa guy's face when you're joking? Uh, but they do say, all right. First, they pat them. Aaron dislocates his shoulder, pat himself on the back
Yeah.
for how cool and like fun Fable is. Like when your opponent casts the first one, and you're like, "Wow, how am I going to deal with this?" And then they cast the second one, and you're like, "I should just scoop, right?"
Yeah.
Oh, they discarded 2 cards and played another Fable. Oh, my life is over. But I did like standard thrives on change. Let's make the rotation 3 years. Ah, why are you making standard change list? Well, because standard thrives on change.
Yeah.
um, and while we want to dial back the amount of change somewhat, I hate this. This makes no sense.
Mhm.
There are still thinks that should change. Fable will not be legal in standard forever. Dot dot dot. Brian's adding, we banning this fool
Right.
real soon, dog.
Yeah. Well, did we talk about this in the pre-show or in the actual show?
I think in the pre-show.
Okay. So we had kind of a mini discussion about Fable being an R-right best card in standard, which I
Hmm.
kind of agreed with and Brian kind of didn't. Um and I thought that was more useful to talk about than the bands, because we kind of already talked about the bands,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um
Go ahead.
yeah, I don't
Knock
know. I,
yourself
I
out.
thought I just figured we'd talk about it again. I thought that a decent way to end the show here.
Yeah.
Um I think Fable's a fine best card in standard. Like, it's not immediately. I know you said by the time they cast the second one, you just want to scoop, and like that could be said for a lot of cards, though, not just Fable. And like, we have absolutely played in standard formats that had less fun, I'll say, best cards in standard than Fable.
I guess the question is, like, how does one define fun? Because, like, on a pure power level basis,
Mm-hmm.
not a single card we listed, like, in the pre-show as, like, best card in standard.
Mm-hmm.
Siege Rhino. It
Yeah.
did see a little bit of modern play in its time, but
Right.
not a ton. Archangel Avacyn
Right.
didn't. I'm going a little out of order here.
That's right.
Gideon,
Yeah.
Ally of Zendikar.
No, that saw
A,
some
l-
modern play.
a little bit of modern play, a little bit of legacy play, like in
Yeah.
like Death and Taxes sideboards. Um,
In prison
uh,
decks.
none of the energy nonsense ever
Right.
found its way into older formats. Uh, some of the adventures cards, but
Mm-hmm.
not the
Not the deck.
adventure. Yeah, so like I guess like the best card was Bone Crusher Giant, and Bone Crusher Giant was like the best standard card for a while,
Yeah.
right? And it sees play in older formats just because it's like rawly powerful. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
probably the closest to like Fable
Yeah.
in power level. And I'm sorry, Oko. After we got rid of you,
Right.
Bone Crusher was the most powerful card in standard. Um, right,
Or
but like
brazen borrower.
or Brazen Borrower.
Yeah.
Adventures was just a messed up mechanic
Yeah.
when, hey, I think I did a very good job, or we did a good job. We were like, if any of these are marginally on rate
Right.
on either side, they're gonna be playable. And it was like, here are two that are basically on rate enough,
Right.
right? Here's a bad shock, but a really good 3-drop. And here's a bad bounce spell, or basically an on rate bounce spell,
Mm-hmm.
and a pretty good 3-drop. Um, but those cards haven't like pushed back to older formats in the way that Fable has. I think Fable is on power level one of the more powerful best cards we've had in standard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just on a
And
raw power level. Yeah.
what that does is it's one thing when like your best like the problem is that Fable is so powerful that every deck starts with 4 Fable,
Yeah.
and then you're going to figure out what you're going to do around it. And it just so happens that the best 2-drop is Blood Tithe Harvester.
Yeah. Which
And
who'd
so
have
then
called
that makes,
that, right?
yeah, yeah, never missed that by 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
Right. But then you get in these situations where like you look at standard Rakdos midrange is where's the like most played cards? I know this. I can find this, right? Uh, there you go. Popular cards. Uh, So the most played overall card is Reckoner Bankbuster because it's colorless,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and then Fable is in half the decks,
Yeah.
right? So and then Shieldred is in slightly more than half.
Yeah.
But like if all of your cards, if like all of your games are like kind of built around Fable and like your format is built around it, you just see it so much and it's so powerful.
Mhm.
It pushes a lot of other stuff out because like you can't like one for one. It's like it's an instant 2 for 1 at 3 mana.
Yeah.
But and like both halves matter. Like we've had 2 for 1s. Like remember when like we stupid Eldrazi Displacer
Mhm.
like got played in standard? Not Displacer, Eldrazi Spawner. The the 2 and a blue 2/1 flyer that made a 1/1.
Oh, yeah. Sky Spawner.
Sky Spawner. There we go.
Yeah.
Right. Like we were like, oh, it's a 2 for 1. It's a 2/1 flyer and a 1/1 body. And now it's like, oh, it's a 2 for 1. It makes a 2/2 that ramps you,
Right.
and then in 2 turns you get a 2/2 that copies a removal spell
Yeah.
or makes like just does so much value.
Yeah.
Right. I just think it like it's too high a power level and then pushes everything else out. Because like you have to build decks that can have some way to deal with or ignore Fable.
Mhm.
And then on the other side, you also have to play like stuff that deals with Shieldred.
Right.
So you're like, I've got to be able to get rid of to not get 2 for 1 off this 2 for 1. And then I also have to have removal in my deck that like deals with Shieldred, and you're just pulled in 2 different directions.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, like, does it give you play? Yes. Does it like enable does it enable the mid-range deck by letting you hit your land drops and get rid of dead cards? Yes. Does it enable reanimator decks by letting you discard your fatties? Yes. Like it does a lot of things,
Mhm.
but like it becomes so ubiquitous that like I don't know if it's fun anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my point was, like, I remember, Emrakul the Promised End standard,
Hmm.
and, like, that card just wasn't fun to play against. It was miserable. And,
Fair.
like, Fable isn't that kind of miserable. Or Nexus
Yes.
of Fate. Like, that card was miserable to play against, and
Hmm.
Fable is not that kind of miserable. Um, kind of the same deck, but Big Teferi was miserable to play against. And this isn't that kind of miserable.
Yes. If you're talking about like, do I want to just like, do I no longer want to play this game?
Yeah.
No, it's not that. But like, are you behind if you don't? Are you like really far behind if you don't have your own Fable? Absolutely.
Well, so, like, the point of this whole thing though is to get more people into standard.
Hmm.
So are you going to have better luck attracting people into standard when you're letting somebody else take your turns with a card like Emrakul, or whether you're prevented from playing your cards with Teferi, or whether you just see Fable a lot?
Hmm. Like,
Like, I understand what you're
no, no,
saying.
no.
Like,
You're
3 years of Fable is a lot, but
you are right that like, but how long did Emrakul get to hang around? They're like, you're out of
too
here,
long.
Emrakul. Fair, right? Nexus Nexus hung around too long because they were just stubborn.
Yep.
Um, so it is not those like miserable, terrible games. I mean, I would argue that like Teferi is in the same big or little Teferi is in the
Yeah.
same boat of this is format defining in multiple. Now,
Hmm.
Teferi has like kind of worked its way out of Legacy, but for a while, Teferi was played in Legacy too.
Yeah.
It's still played in like I think in some modern control decks.
Yeah.
Uh, right, and like I've definitely conceded games to I don't have a good board Teferi 5 mana Teferi plus, and I'm just like I'm not gonna bother.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna lose this game in 8 turns,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna bother. So, yeah, it's not like Teferi Hero Dominaria bad. Um, I don't it is frustrating that we're, like, at a point of look at all these other cards they completely and totally butchered.
Mhm.
This one isn't as soul crushing as those, so I guess that's a dub.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, Archangel Avacyn was good and frustrating, but, like, there was a trigger you could respond to. Your opponent had to pass with 5 mana up.
Right.
Like, you kinda knew it was coming,
Yeah.
and, like, you could just kill it.
Yeah.
We're like, "Okay, go." And it's like, "Okay, I will not use my 5 mana." Excellent.
Right.
That's a win for me. Or I'm gonna use my 5 mana and then not get the value of, like, blanking removal spell. Okay, cool, thanks. Um, so, like, that was not a great best card, but it was fine.
Mhm.
Like, Siege Rhino was a good best card in Standard.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was frustrating when they drew, like, 3 of them, like,
Well, I mean, they
on
always
turn
traveled
4.
in packs.
Yeah, exactly. On 4, 5, and 6, they went Rhino, 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 you were dead,
Yeah.
right? But, like, those games were, like, back and forth and,
Yeah.
like, you
No,
know,
I'll agree with you there.
and but, like, Fable Fable has the problem that, like, a lot of modern designs have of it snowballs, right? Because, like, what if you don't answer the token?
Right.
Like, it's kinda like Ragavan, where it's just like, they play that, you untap, you whatever, play your creature, and they're like, "Kill your creature, get in, get my token."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, man, now they have all this extra mana." Uh,
Yeah.
so I don't know, like, I it is in terms of, is it more fun than, like, getting turbo fogged by Nexus? Yes. Is it more fun being on the other side of having your turn taken with
Yeah.
a big Emrakul? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, like
but
one of the things that we mentioned during the pre-show is that we have different play styles as well.
mhm,
So where I don't see Fable as that like as big a problem as you do, because like I tend to play more aggressive decks than you do. You want to
mhm.
do like cool synergy shenanigans combo stuff, and I just want to get people dead most of the time. So by the time somebody's set up a Fable and had a couple turns for it to pop, they're either very close to be dead and the tokens are chump blockers, or they are dead and it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Whereas you're seeing, like, I don't think I've ever had multiple Fables cast against me in a game.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What's it like? Uh, I definitely had, like 2 or 3. You've not lost the game to someone copying having 2 Fables and just using all of their mana to make an army of tutus?
No, I have never
Oh,
had
man.
a Kiki reflection of Kiki survive to the point where it lost summoning sickness.
Oh, man. Apparently I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, I think you're doing it
Uh,
wrong.
so, I don't know, like,
That might be why I
it's a
have
f
different views of the card though
yeah,
also. Like if I was sitting in your seat, I might see it differently.
yeah. It's a fine card, but power level wise, it's probably too high for Standard. Like, in terms of,
Yeah.
like, how is it I saw someone, I forget, again, was it Saffron Alti Basic? Imagine if you change the order of the first 2 steps.
Loot first.
Mhm. Or, yeah, whatever, rummage first
Yeah.
and then get the token.
Yeah.
Like, that it makes that, like, treasure way less valuable.
Yeah.
Or if the goblin was a 1/1,
Yeah.
right? Like, that would, like, maybe change it.
Mhm.
Like, you could, like, it'd be harder to, like, run it into, like, uh, a Blood Tithe Harvester because, like, "Oh, I'm just gonna trade it off.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna they're not gonna trade it, it's just gonna get eaten." But changing the order so that mana is less valuable,
Yeah.
and you then don't have the draw step to see, like, "Oh my god, is my top card a land? Do I need to discard 2 spells to try to hit my land drop because I don't have a land?"
Yeah.
get one less look at it. I don't know. Um, it might just be that like we are playing very different Magic, so that is the thing.
Yeah.
But like even so, like think about like again like best cards in standard. Like when Wandering Emperor was kind of the best card,
Hmm.
right? Like it kind of has the Fable problem of like it gives you two things that you have to deal with,
Right.
right? So it has the Avacyn problem of like they're
You
holding
got to
up
play
4
around it.
mana, right? So like okay, you got to worry about that. Fine, but like where Avacyn they could just like flash in a 4/4
Hmm.
that you could kill with her removal spell. Now they're like flash in a planeswalker, make a 2/2.
Right.
Right. So then you have the Fable problem of like they got two things out of this. Now I have to deal with both of them.
Hmm.
As opposed to Avacyn being like it is a card.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know. Again, can we go back to Siege Rhino days? Simpler times?
Well, hopefully they're going to be a little bit more aggressive with the bans, and we don't have to worry about it. So
Yeah. Like I think especially the cards that are there are cards that are just sitting on standard.
yeah.
Right. Like again, if we look at the like Reckoner Bakebuster is played in 60% of decks, and it's over 3 of them per deck.
Yeah.
Smuggler's Copter died for less.
Yes, that is true.
Um, and then like then you get rid of Fable to push people out of red.
Hmm.
Like you could be black blue and play stupid Shieldred.
Yeah.
You could be black green. You can be any flavor of black that's not red.
Right.
Uh Also, like what world do we live in that Invoke Despair, a 1 black, black, black card, is the 10th most played spell in Standard?
A black world.
Yes, a very black world.
Yeah.
Uh, Lithomancer's Barrage in 42% of decks. Yeah, buddy. All right. Well, with all of this, well, how about this? Do you feel any better about the change coming to Standard after seeing this? Or is there just not enough there?
Well, a couple things. I don't think there was enough here for sure. There was a whole lot of wishy-washy and not a whole lot that I didn't expect to see. Um,
Hmm.
but I think in general, like having some time to digest it, I feel a little bit better about the change. Um,
Hmm.
but also, like I said last week, I don't know what they could do to win me back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I haven't played standard in like forever and a day,
Yeah.
and I don't know what could make me want to.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
even play standard on arena. I couldn't even tell you the
Oh,
last time I had a standard deck built on arena. I play like exclusively explorer and historic brawl in draft.
yeah, I only play explorer. So when I work out in the morning on the bike,
Hmm.
I play like I try to get a win or two in with whatever explorer deck I feel like messing with that day.
Yeah.
And then, I'll if I have some free time, I will play explorer. Like I hardly ever played standard. Like I had fun. There was one of these like was it like on the edge or whatever where they like
Yeah.
banned 4 sets.
Yeah.
I had a very fun red black deck that was playing Breach the Multiverse before that was a thing.
Hmm.
And doing that stuff. I was like, this is fun. Like a lot of these cards I dislike are gone.
Yeah.
Yay. Like there's different decks. Like I'm doing something goofy. I'm putting an Italian to play. Yay. Um, but I think it could be good if we get to a point where there is some churn in standard. It's felt like for a while, uh, you know, 2 years of red black or a year and a half of red black being really good.
Yeah.
That it's almost like when we were in Energy,
Yeah.
where the core of that deck is so powerful that it's just, oh, hey, like I improved my removal spells a little bit.
Yeah.
So, oh, this removal spell is not as good as this one that just came out, so I'm going to play this new removal spell.
Yeah.
Like they have to be really careful of. They have to balance this. Like we've got to push. We've got to print cards that are pushed so people get excited to buy them for older formats.
Yeah.
But they can't be so good that like if we print, I don't know, uh Jace Super Pirate in Ixalan, that it's just not like 3 years or 2.5 years of just every deck being blue because Jace is an 11 and the next best card is a 9.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't care about the synergies. Jace is too good.
Right.
Or maybe we get like we get some Savage Knuckleblade situations where the card's like really good,
Mhm.
but it just doesn't have enough help.
Right.
So it's like, well,
Hopefully that's not going to be the case anymore. That's explicitly what they're trying to prevent with this, right?
what I mean is like, hey, this card's an 11,
Yeah.
but the next best card I can put that synergizes with this card is a 7.
Yeah.
So I can make the deck, but I'm not just like I have to play this 11.
Mhm.
So, because a lot of times now it's like I have to play this 11. So,
Right.
all right. So with all that, I think we have a show.
We have a show. That was a lot more than I thought we were going to get out of that topic. So
This is this is an old style show. That's almost 2 hours.
yeah.
So, if you want to reach out to us on social media, talk about standard changes, maybe what could incentivize you into being a standard gamer again.
Yeah. Tell us.
Let us know. Like again, like we have a straight line tomorrow and co. We'll just we'll get
Forward
on
it
the
right
blower
on
to
over.
we'll just forward it right over for you.
Yeah. I'll
But reach out.
tape it to Morrow's bag of Coke.
There we go. Wow, it's like Snapple caps, man.
Yeah.
It says make formats better. So
Yeah.
well,
Let us know. All the links are in the description to all our social
yes.
media. Hopping into our Discord, Twitter, Facebook, what have you. It's all down there. If you're looking to support the show, 2 ways you can do it. First is with our TCG player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. Use that for all your TCG shopping needs, and you'll help support the show at the same time. Or you can support us directly at Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG, where you'll get access to our pre-show, you'll get access to our show notes, and you'll get put on my mailing list for when I have swag to send out. Let us know that you appreciate us and help support the show, and we would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Got anything else this week?
Nope. So with that, we'll catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internet.